Hey, my friends, Coach Powers here, back again with a new video. And this time I want to talk about at least 5 signs that you got stuck in benzo recovery. 5 things that I've seen across the board that tell me people get stuck. And let me tell you, people get stuck. And so the first thing I want to say is, of course, the obvious. Well, let me back right up because you're going to say, well, Coach, there's only one sign really that you got stuck. Maybe two. You'll say, and it's very obvious. I haven't been over to taper. I've been, stuck at this dose for say, 6 months or more, a year. Okay, I'm stuck. That's obvious. Or two, I'm a year, 2, 3 years out of benzos, and why am I not getting better? I'm still here. And we call it bind, and sometimes maybe it is, but I think a lot of times, guys, we just get stuck in our recovery. Our limbic brain never learns that it's okay and safe enough to now shift down, fully regulate, and stabilize again. And this is a very vulnerable process. I mean, imagine like really badly breaking your leg and then being forced to continue to walk on it and never really allowing it to heal, even months or a year after it's broken, right? So first I want to say benzo recovery, the obvious thing, benzo recovery is not linear. You guys know that. Waves happen, fluctuations happen, stress happens, life happens. We all want to get through this with the least amount of suffering possible. And we pray for good days, but man, life sometimes seems to really stack it on us when we're going through it rough, right? But there's a difference between a wave and being stuck. Waves are usually shorter, maybe even a couple months or something if you've made a big drop or you had a setback of some sort. But past that point, they are different things. And sometimes people aren't stuck because they're damaged or because of some bigger, more chemical explanation. They're stuck because certain patterns quietly took over their life and signaled to their fight or flight center that there was still danger, and that kept the loop going over and over again, right? So here are at least 5 signs that might be happening to you based on what I've seen. This is not to shame anyone, right? This is just to provide some awareness. So, number one, and this is pretty common in everyone I work with that I'm thinking everyone I've worked with that are actually stuck, and that is constantly monitoring yourself and your symptoms, right? You know what I'm talking about. You're checking constantly. You're asking, how do I feel now? Is this better yet? Is this worse? Is this a setback, right? All day long, you're monitoring. I have people that, they're checking their blood pressure and their pulse rates, and they're constantly asking for reassurance, and they journal and they have charts where they're monitoring, their day, not just, how was this day versus yesterday, but how was this morning versus yesterday's, morning? How was this evening versus yesterday's evening? How did I sleep last night versus the night before? And it's all creating this such a pressure, there's such performance to get better. That alone, that monitoring that pressure keeps the limbic brain elevated and activated there, right? So all day long, that's not recovery. Monitoring yourself obsessively is not engaging in recovery like it feels, and it does feel that way. That is threat surveillance, right? That is over monitoring. When you're constantly scanning your body and mind, you reinforce the message that something is wrong. That's the simplest way I could put it. When you constantly check yourself, what's my pulse? You're basically telling your limbic brain, I think something might still be wrong. And it's going to keep reacting to it. So glutamate spikes again, cortisol spikes again, norepinephrine spikes again, GABA gets dysregulated, symptoms spike, fear and conditioned thoughts and narratives and patterns arise, shame arises. The limbic brain, as I call it, the bear, its instincts take over, gets reactivated. Suddenly we're back to urgency. If I don't get off this drug soon, I've got to, you set healing deadlines, right? I've been off the, benzos for 15 months and I should be better by now, right? All of these things start to work against you. So the constant monitoring is keeping your threat detection and your nervous system on high alert. And in order to get better, healing requires a lot less monitoring, not more. A lot less monitoring. Have a little faith. Allow yourself some time to heal, okay? Number two, you made symptoms the center of your identity. This happens all over the damn benzo communities. Everyone is a Benzo warrior, a Benzo survivor, and all this. And I'm not, I get it. I was there too. But it shouldn't be your whole identity, right? It's something that happened to you. It's not who you are. But every conversation becomes about benzos, right? Every conversation is about symptoms. Every thought loops back to symptoms or something about not healing. Your whole day is structured around trying to avoid symptoms or monitoring symptoms, right? You start thinking in terms of my nervous system, my damage, my injury, mind, all these things. It just becomes part of your daily narrative, and it drives, of course, it drives the people around us crazy, right? They can't stand it. And so they start to distance themselves, or they start to push back, and then that makes us more dysregulated, right? The thing to remember here is when recovery becomes your entire identity, the brain never exits survival framing, right? It keeps framing that in the same way. It reinforces that over and over again. Like again, it's walking on a sprained ankle and wondering why it won't heal, right? You can't move forward if your whole life revolves around what's wrong, right? It's like coming home from war with PTSD and you sit around and you just watch war films and talk to your old war buddies about war and the things you lost and your traumas. You don't keep, if you keep trauma activated, you can't expect to start to feel better. Very simple math on that one, guys. Number three, you're trying to force regulation, and this ties into another video I made. You cannot force regulation. Force regulation is the worst thing you can do, right? And I'm talking about like things like stacking tools, things that you've learned. I talk to people and God bless them, they've taken every kind of course and every kind of, they're stacking supplements and they're constantly changing strategies and they're testing everything and getting tests done. And underneath it all is this sense of urgency, right? I need this to work, damn it. I need to calm down. I need progress. Please give me progress. And it needs to happen now. Again, this pressure keeps the system activated in the worst ways, right? And a dysregulated nervous system does not stabilize under demand. It doesn't work that way, right? It's like telling an angry person to calm down. How does that work? Calm out, me calm down? They're going to get angrier, right? Kind of like your nervous system. Don't pressure it. Don't force it. It will only become more stuck, right? So sometimes being stuck in recovery is just too much force, trying too hard. I have literally seen people where this was the sole reason why they were stuck. And once they kind of breathed and said, "You're right, coach. I've been, lean more on acceptance, stop forcing to be regulated," and things started to, within days, sometimes weeks, within sometimes days, things started to again move forward again for them. And it was like, what a powerful lesson that was, right? Number four, you stopped, and this is pretty important, but it's a tough one. You stopped re-engaging with life. And that's what benzo withdrawal does, It makes us wait around to feel better before we start living again. We start avoiding social situations, we're avoiding normal stress, normal stimulation, we're avoiding anything that's challenging, right? And our world just keeps shrinking. And avoidance feels like protection. And in a way, it is, right? I mean, if you're out there in the woods with a real grizzly bear, some things you want to avoid to be safe. But in the long term, in the long run, avoidance only reinforces sensitivity. It teaches the nervous system that, again, we are not safe. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and just get back to life. There's a graded exposure that need to happen, but this starts really small. It starts with just a phone call with a friend and, being a little more social in your own home, things like that, showing up a little bit, a little more, doing the things that you used to like to do, get up and water the plants. Even just little things like putting on your makeup or putting on some nice clothes, just sort of dressing the part of the day. See what it does. Start to re-engage your life in just little tiny micro ways and see what it does. And if your world keeps shrinking, right, recovery slows down. That's the final message. If your world keeps shrinking, recovery slows down and can quite literally feel like it's paused. It becomes a whole nother problem at that point. And finally, you have to disengage from fear. Again, this goes back to an earlier point I made. you cannot expect to get out of trauma, and benzo withdrawal is a pretty damn traumatic thing for so many of us. You cannot expect to feel safe again if you're still living it over and over again. If your whole world is stuck in everything benzo and bind, and it's become a solidified belief for you, and you're on forums and you're on the Reddit groups and you're watching all the videos and even the positive ones, or the so-called positive ones, can still be triggering. And what we end up doing is we're watching the positive ones, but we're scanning for scary things. I run Life After Benzo's support group on Facebook, and I see the same thing all the time. People will come in. I just want to, the positive stories. How many of you guys healed? And a bunch of people will post things. Oh, yeah, I'm doing a lot better, and I've seen great progress. And then one person, I'm 3 years out and I haven't healed. And I'll literally see the person comment only to that person and say, can I message you? It's like, wait a minute, I thought you were looking for a success story, right? The bear doesn't want success stories. He is looking for danger. Your survival intelligence is looking for danger. And that's what he's doing. He's there for danger. He doesn't care about success. You're 3 years out, you didn't heal. I need to talk to you. My God, that could be me. What happened? What does it feel like? How did this happen? How can I avoid this? Right? Not knowing that engaging in that is actually kind of facilitating the same outcome in a sense, or potentially anyway. So disengage from fear. I teach a 4-stage recovery program model, 4 stages. The first stage is restoring hope. And then to restore hope, you have to at least check a few of the key learning goals, as I call them. One of them is to really understand the true nature of the injury, not keep calling it brain damage, but understand neural adaptation and what's really happening can actually alleviate a lot of fear, and it gives you a lot of hope back in itself. And then disengage from the fear content out there. Not, you can't escape your mind yet. That comes later, but you can start by tapering off fear content. You have those people that you talk to that scare you. You're obsessive about certain content and all of this stuff, and you can just start to taper down a little bit and just see if you're stuck. I'm not saying if you're still looking for information and you're still in the acquiring direction stage, but a lot of us have been here a while, and we could probably teach a course. Not just me, you guys could probably teach a damn course on benzo withdrawal and recovery. You probably have with your friends and family. So do you really need to keep watching and digesting it? Are you really obtaining any new tools, or are you just reliving that old trauma and keeping yourself stuck in that loop? So many times I've seen people that just finally, out of sheer maybe just desperation, or just gave up and said, forget it, I'm burned out on the benzo community, and they left. And then they write me back, Coach, I left for a couple months and then I started seeing progress. And they almost don't even link the two. They're like, well, what do you think it was? Was my diet? I think it's that you disengage from fear. And number 4, my key learning goal for stage 1, restoring hope, is learn about the bear. You'll hear me reference the bear a lot. I'm going to do a lot more talking in videos in the future about the bear. You see the bear on my shirt there and my logo. The bear is very important. What is the bear? The bear is survival intelligence. It's not withdrawal. It's what the limbic brain, the amygdala, does in response to withdrawal. It's why we probably got on benzos in the first place, right? It's our survival intelligence. It was activated at some time, maybe in our childhood, a traumatic childhood, a scary event, an abusive relationship, something health scares or medical illnesses. And this bear, the survival intelligence, and it is an intelligence, showed up and tried to protect us. And we all have a bear, and all of our bears are different. Mine might be control and perfectionism. Another person might be urgency and shame. Another person might be shut down and spiraling or catastrophizing or something else. And we all use, all our bears have the same tools. They can use all these things to try to motivate us, but we all have a bear or a limbic brain that prefers certain mechanisms over others. And once you become aware of that process, you start to diffuse, you separate from your fixed identification with all of that, and you stop just calling it conveniently bind or benzo withdrawal, because that's kind of unfair. You're lumping all of this under just one chemical umbrella, and that doesn't serve you at some point. I mean, what does that really do? It creates a model that you have to wait to heal. Well, you've been waiting. How is it working out, really? So at some point you have to maybe take a step back, try to get to know your limbic brain a little bit more and realize like this is an intelligence. This thing is trying to protect me, not kill me. It thinks it's helping me. It's learned this some time ago. It has its own, instincts and behaviors and triggers and reinforcers, but it also has things that calm it. And everybody has a bear brain that can be calmed through different mechanisms, some better than others, right? So I teach my students constantly about the bear. Anyone that's worked with me, probably some of my students might be watching this, you hear the bear ad nauseum. We all know about the bear. This is very important, again, because we diffuse from it. We are now not just living it and wearing withdrawal. We're starting to understand it as almost in a more scientific, way. We're studying our fear, and then we can start to change our relationship with our fear. And as that starts to happen, the brain circuits, the fear circuits actually start to rewire. And that, my friends, is what keeps you off of benzos. And that's what really breeds big changes, not just in lowering your symptoms to get you through a taper or something, but if you feel stuck, chances are you have a dysfunctional relationship with fear, and the things that you've been doing to try to make yourself better, unfortunately, have been counterproductive or counterintuitive to your threat center. And there's a lot of things that this applies to. You don't need to feel shame about this. This is just the way the system works, right? But no, knowledge is power. Anyway, that's for another video. So there you have it, my friends. That was at least 5 signs that you might have gotten stuck in benzo recovery. Keep your heads up, keep pushing forward, keep believing, keep fostering hope, and I promise you, you too will get there.